Hello guys, today's topic has been requested many times. On social networks, it seems that hackers exert a kind of fascination, if we can say so. A person or a group of people capable of overcoming the barrier of seemingly impenetrable security systems is something disturbing, but at the same time intriguing. So today I want to satisfy your request and tell you about 7 groups of hackers that are considered to this day among the most powerful in history. Perhaps you only knew Anonymous, and don't worry because it will not be missing in the ranking. But Anonymous is not the only existing group of hackers. There are others worth noting, and in this video, I will introduce them to you. So here are the 7 most powerful hacker groups in history. CHAOS Computer Club. Founded in 1981, Chaos Computer Club is a German hacker organization that currently has about 5,500 members. Its most significant achievement, and the one that brought it to fame, was the intrusion into the German computer network Bildschirmtext, and in their ability to have 134,000 German marks credited to the club from a Hamburg bank. After the initial big scare the next day, the organization returned all the money to the bank in the presence of the press, but with a very clear warning. Be careful because your security systems are not reliable. The group describes itself as a galactic community of living beings who, regardless of age, sex, ethnicity, or social orientations, fight across borders for the freedom of information. In short, the main purpose of the group is not to exploit hacking for illegal activities, but to raise the issue about security risks. At number 6 on the list, we find the group Team Poison. Founded in 2010 by a very young hacker known by the pseudonym Trick. This group can easily be considered one of the most powerful and dangerous in history. In fact, they were able to penetrate very famous sites at a time when security is a priority, for example, Facebook or the United Nations page. Their most well-known feat, which made them very famous in Great Britain, consisted of taking over an email where they were able to find private information about the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair. As if that wasn't enough, they also managed to penetrate the official BlackBerry blog to launch a message in favor of the protests that were bringing the government to its knees. In those years, Team Poison defined itself as a group whose main purpose is political activism, dedicated to exposing the serious problems of the British government. At number 5 on the list, we find a group of hackers that was a source of terror in the 90s. Their name is inspired by the 7th circle of Dante Alighieri's Inferno, that of the violent, despite their name. The idea was to be activists and to use their computer skills to protest against certain actions of governments or companies that could go against the interests of the population. They were able to penetrate more than 60 national aeronautics and space administration computers and gain access to the first American National Bank database and breach the computer systems of the Sheraton hotel chain. But their most important feat was to hijack the web page of the United States Embassy in China, filling it with anti-American slogans. In the end, however, enormous pressure from the United States government forced them to dissolve the organization. This does not change the fact that they can be considered one of the most powerful and dangerous hacker groups in history, LULZ Security. We are getting closer to the podium of this ranking, but before we get there, I will tell you about a hacker group that you may have heard of. Especially if you are of a certain age and if you have or had a PlayStation 3, LULZ Security is perhaps one of the few hacker groups that does it, not for money nor for political activism, but for fun and to cause chaos. In fact, LULZ is a neologism that originates from the acronym LAUGH out loud, a meaning we all somewhat know today: everyone. In their years of activity, they caused major problems for the CIA and FBI, but their greatest feat was being able to access sensitive data. Out of more than 1 million PlayStation 3 user profiles, Sony continues to assert that only 37,000 profiles were compromised. But it seems that they said this to avoid panic. Either way, LULZ security doesn't seem to exist anymore. After the arrest of Sabu, one of the organization's leaders, most of its members were discovered, and the group's activity almost completely ceased. The Network Crack Program Hacker Group, and here we are on the podium of this ranking, where we find one of the most terrible Chinese hacker groups. Its name is the Network Crack Program Hacker Group, founded in 1994 by its main leader, Tam Dalene. In this case, what makes this group so famous is not so much its exploits, but the fact that the government itself has entrusted them with the country's cybersecurity. In a nutshell, the organization has become a kind of unofficial commando operating in defense of the government itself. On many occasions, they have been able to penetrate the American government's computer system, obtaining valuable information about their defense system. Currently, however, rather than carrying out cyber attacks, they are involved in protecting the government's systems. And everything suggests that this extremely important role gives them unimaginable power and influence. Millworm, the group that ranks second, could certainly have deserved the top spot if it weren't for the organization, which we will talk about shortly, that you will have understood, is anonymous, is more known worldwide. Anyway, Millworm posed a real threat to many governments, managing to access and make vulnerable hundreds of very important web pages containing very sensitive information. But their greatest feat is the one that saw them access the computer of the Baba Atomic Research Center in Mumbai, the most important nuclear research center in India. Once there, they deleted the data from 2 servers, filled the systems with anti-nuclear messages, and stole all the information contained in the system. Documents containing top-secret government information about their military defense scheme. To put it in perspective, if that information had fallen into the hands of other governments, India would have been practically vulnerable to any external attack. It was 1998, and from that moment on, the history of cybersecurity would never be the same. Anonymous. And finally, at the top of the ranking, we find the most famous hacker group in the world, the one you have surely heard of. It's Anonymous. Anonymous is not just a hacker group, but also a real phenomenon, a form of activism that identifies individual users or entire online communities that act anonymously with an agreed goal. Their slogan says a lot about them. We are anonymous, we are legion, we do not forgive, we do not forget, expect us. And this is exactly what they do. They fight against injustices and against a system that in many cases appears corrupt. The problem is that being so popular has led many people to self-proclaim themselves as members of the organization, even though they are just charlatans. But the real members of Anonymous have been able to accomplish truly legendary feats. They have helped to capture dangerous criminals in many parts of the world. They have brought down computer systems, dictatorial governments, organizations devoted to evil. In short, listing all their achievements is practically impossible, but their activism is positive, always devoted to good, and this has allowed them to gain the affection of many people around the world. So you knew all these groups? Had you heard of any of them, or do you know others who deserve to be included in the ranking? Let me know in a comment. Before we finish, I want to tell you that if this video gets to 10,000 likes, I will prepare another one, this time dedicated to the most famous individual hackers in the world. If you like the topic and want to know more, don't forget to leave your like. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, Leave a like or share it with your friends. Greetings and see you in the next video of The Unexplainable.